Hey guys, welcome back to another sports stuff video. Today we'll be talking about the Detroit Lions and their offseason plan to truly win a Super Bowl in the NFC, which feels the weakest it's ever been. Any team can go to the Super Bowl, and I really think the Detroit Lions this upcoming season could just go all in, spend all their money and all their draft capital, and just win. And I truly think this is going to be the best chance for them. So if you guys do enjoy, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how you would do it different, but let's get into it with the Detroit Lions and their offseason plan. So as always, we're starting off with cuts and or trades from the roster. They're currently positive $51 million, so that's good. But with cuts or trades, listen, there's a lot of rumors going around with the Detroit Lions, and here's what I think is going to happen. I think they make a trade for Trey Hendrickson, right? So obviously the Lions, they need another pass rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. They tried to do it with Zadarius Smith. You know, he was fine, but so many injuries back to back to back. This really hindered this defensive line. So Trey Hendrickson is the big swing they finally do. So Trey Hendrickson last year had 22 tackles, 18 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 32 run stops, and 83 pressures, which was #1 in the NFL. He had a career year in Cincinnati. He was a runner-up defensive player of the year. And now that the Bengals are trying to, spend their money on T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow, Trey Hendrickson is the odd man out. So let's get some bookends on this defensive line of Trey Hendrickson and Aiden Hutchinson. He's an elite pass rusher that you can lean on while Aiden Hutchinson is taking time to recover. And I do think there'll be a couple of games next year that Aiden Hutchinson doesn't really trust his knee yet. They'll take a couple of games to really become Aiden Hutchinson again. He's also a good run stopper. So when I'm in trade for Trey Hendrickson is Detroit gets Trey Hendrickson and a 2026 fifth, and Cincinnati gets a 2025 second, number 60 overall, for a 4th round pick next year. So it's a pick swap next year to get earlier in the 4th. So you have 2 4th round picks next year, and you get number 60 overall this year to then try and replace Trey Hendrickson's production with a towards the end of the 2nd round pick. So Trey Hendrickson gets to a new team, and he also gets a new deal with more guaranteed money, and he gets a pay raise while also trying to compete for a Super Bowl. And the Bengals save cap space for their 2 wide receivers they need to pay, and they get a high value day 2 pick. And here's the contract I decided to give him. Currently, he's on a 1-year, $16 million deal with no guaranteed money. So I warped it into a 3-year, $57.5 million deal, $38 million guaranteed, or 66% guaranteed overall. So as you can see, I had to do some cap space maneuvering, add 2 void years to spread that cap hit out, because I'm trying to make sure the biggest number that hits this contract is this year. So I give him $17.8 million as a cap number this year, 15.8 next year, and 14.3 the year after. So essentially, it's a 2-year deal, right? If you want to cut Trey Hendrickson after 2 years, you can do that. If you want to trade him after 2 years, you can do that. Or you then extend him again after 2 years if he's still keeping up the current projection of how he's playing. So, he gets a pay raise of over $1.8 million this year, and he gets more guaranteed salary. I think it's a win-win for all involved. Without the 2 void years, I think the number would be what? I think it'd be 19, 18, and 17 would be the number he'd be getting over 3 years. So no matter what, it's a pay raise, but on the cap, it's going to be a decrease the next 2 years. So I think it's worth it to get Trey Hendrickson. You get a bona fide star pass rusher because you didn't get Max Crosby. I don't think you're getting Myles Garrett. I think Trey Hendrickson is the next guy in that tier of pass rushers that they can actually go and get. And I think the Lions have to be the team to go and get Trey Hendrickson. Because otherwise, it's going to be the Commanders, right? The Commanders are the other team in it for a veteran pass rusher. And it's either going to go to you or it's going to go to Commanders. So you got to figure out what's going to, you're not giving up. You got to give up what you got to give up to make sure it's on your team. Next, we'll be cutting Graham Glasgow. Last year, at a 58 PFF grade, 56 pass blocking, 58 run blocking. To me, he makes too much money for his play level. He did play most of last season, but from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of moments that he got cut and he got benched and didn't start. But Christian Mahogany, I did have him very rated well coming out of this draft class last year. I thought Christian Mahogany could start somewhere immediately. Obviously, when you have Kevin Zeitler and Graham Glasgow that you signed to be veterans, you pay them more money. You're gonna let Christian Mahogany develop. But I do think there's a chance that Mahogany could play for them next year, day 1. Kevin Zeitler could also be re-signed. I think it's really unlikely he comes back to Detroit. He might retire, but I think he might go somewhere else. But Kevin Zeitler, you could re-sign him. But last year had 6 penalties and 4 sacks allowed. I'm going to try and find someone better in free agency or the draft to replace Christian Mahogany. To replace Graham Glasgow, while I predict Christian Mahogany to step up and replace Kevin Zeitler. So I cut him, save $5 million. Then some restructures. So I want to be very clear what I'm doing. So I'm showing all the restructures that could happen, right? You could restructure Jared Goff for $13 million, Taylor Decker for $10 million, Frank Ragnow for $4 million, Amon-Ra for $6 million, DJ Reader for $7 million, and David Montgomery for $3 million. And that would open up $44 million of cap space. However, look at what would happen in 2026. You would lower your 2026 cap space from $35 million all the way down to 18.8. So I'm willing to only restructure Jared Goff, who I know is going to be my quarterback of the future, to ensure that 2026's cap space is still intact and you can cover for the Trey Hendrickson extension through, restructuring Jared Goff, right? Because the Jared Goff restructure basically covers all of Trey Hendrickson's money, so it's a net negative, right? Your cap space stays about the same, adding Trey Hendrickson. So I'm not going to restructure everyone else, but this is an option that could happen. But I'm not going to do it. I'm only going to restructure $13 million, and that's what I'm going to do. So heading into re-signings, you have $52.5 million. So the cut of Graham Glasgow and the restructure of Jared Goff, saves the cap space for adding Trey Hendrickson. So in the re-signings, I'm going to be re-signing Carlton Davis. I think this has to happen day one. Carlton Davis last year had 49 tackles, 2 interceptions, 21 run stops, and 6 pass breakups. He was a good veteran boundary corner for Detroit. They traded for him to be that number 1 corner for a reason. I think there is a chance he could follow Aaron Glenn in New York, but I think that chance is very small, right? I think it's a very small chance he does follow him in New York. He was locking down wide receivers all year until his injury in Week 15, where he got a broken jaw against the Bills. So I'm hoping he can come back, no issue at all. Again, it wasn't a lower body injury, it was his jaw, so should be fine. But I gave him a 3-year, $43 million deal, $29.5 million guaranteed at 69% guaranteed. And as you can see, I had to structure it very funny. So my game plan, right? My game plan for this year was to put as much money as possible into this year's cap space, have as much money as possible, and push the money down the line to sign a bunch of 1-year free agents to immediately impact your team and win a Super Bowl. So I did that by having Carlton Davis on a base salary of $1.5 million and his cap number only being $6 million this year. He still gets the $18 million signing bonus. He still gets that fully guaranteed at $6 million, and next year gets a big bump. And the year after, if you want to extend him and restructure, you can. But I'm willing to eat this $6 million this year, knowing it's going to be massive in 26 and 27, knowing that Carlton Davis will be on the team and we save as much cap space as possible for this year. So $29.5 million guaranteed. It's basically 70% guaranteed. That's pretty good for Carlton Davis. You traded a pick for him. You believe in him. He played well for you when he did play last year up until Week 15. I want to extend him, make sure we have him and Terrion Arnold for the future on the outside with Amik Robinson or whoever else you want to be on the inside. Then I'm going to be re-signing Tim Patrick as well. Last year had 33 receptions, 394 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He was a solid wide receiver 3 or 4 for this team this year. It's a veteran voice in the room, a guy who's been around the NFL and has done a lot in the NFL, multiple contract extensions. He's a good check down option, and he proved to still be NFL quality post the 2 back-to-back injuries for him. He's definitely a glue guy, check down option for Jared Goff. I think this team needs those for their, Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams deep threats. So I give Tim Patrick a 2-year, $5 million deal, $3.5 million guaranteed at 70% guaranteed. I like that number for Tim Patrick. You could talk me down to maybe $2 million a year, but I think 2.5 is average enough to keep Tim Patrick on this team. Then entering free agency, you got $45 million, and this is why I was trying to keep the cap space as open as I could this year. It's because I'm going to sign as many guys as I can who can either start for me or be high-end rotation guys. So in free agency, my first signing is going to be Aaron Banks to come in and start at guard for me day one. So either it's going to be Aaron Banks or it's going to be Christian Mahogany, opposite of each other, or whatever you want to do. But Aaron Banks is going to start at right guard for me. Last year had 65 PFF grade, 60 run blocking, 69 pass blocking. He has turned to a very solid guard at the NFL level. He's improved every season, and he runs and he fits in with his run-heavy play-action team that he had in San Francisco. For the plethora of running backs he blocked, I think the Detroit Lions fit exactly what Aaron Banks is looking for. You can get for relatively cheap as well compared to other veterans on the market. I give him a 2-year, $14 million deal, $10.5 million guaranteed at 75% guaranteed. And I think that guaranteed money is what's going to be the sticker is, hey, we will give you almost 3/4 of the contract guaranteed money. Good luck getting that anywhere else, right? You can come to our team, compete for a Super Bowl. You already fit the scheme of a run-heavy, play-action team. I think Aaron Banks would thrive in Detroit if they can get him at right guard. Next, I'm going to go for Tyler Lockett, who is just a cap casualty in Seattle. That last year had 49 receptions, 600 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's one of the most underrated wide receivers of the last 8 years. When I first started watching football, Tyler Lockett was a demon, and I've always been a big fan of Tyler Lockett. He's a multi-time 1,000-yard guy, and he avoids hits really well. He is famous for, as soon as he catches the ball, he hits the ground, right? That's how he's 34 years old and still putting up really good numbers. He can be a true possession outside threat Detroit is missing. You have Amon-Ra, you have Jameson Williams. I've always said I think they need another wide receiver to just be that glue possession guy, and I think that's Tyler Lockett. He brings a veteran presence, and, he's already a cap casualty in Seattle. So right now, as I'm making this video, it could come out that Tyler Lockett has side of the team because he doesn't need to wait until free agency. So I give him a 1-year, $7 million deal, fully guaranteed, to help us try and win a Super Bowl and be that, possession outside threat that this team is missing, because it can't be all relying on Amon-Ra St. Brown and deep balls to Jameson Williams. You need that intermediate to long game of just a possession guy. That's Tyler Lockett. Next, you have Javon Hargrave, who's also a cap casualty in San Francisco. Last year, had 4 tackles, 1 sack, 4 run stops, and 8 pressures. He only played 100 snaps due to injury. He partially tore his tricep, which knocked him out after week 3. He's still a very solid veteran D tackle. A few years ago when he was a free agent, lots of teams were in on him because he had an amazing run with the Eagles at the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl they went to. A run stopper off the bench for a thin unit. You're gonna lose Levi Onwuzurike, so Javon Hargrave comes in, replaces Levi, and you have a third D tackle you can rely on if injuries mount up. I give him a 1-year, $3 million deal. Next, we have Devin Bush at linebacker. Devin Bush had 50 tackles, 1 sack, and 24 run stops last year. He was not meant to start for Cleveland, but because of injuries, he actually played a lot, and he played pretty good. He's really good in the run game. You can get a good run defender for cheap. 1 year for $4.5 million. I think it's a pretty good number for Devin Bush. I'm actually shocked how well he played last year. He's definitely earned himself a little bit more money. He's not coming back to Cleveland on the minimum. The Browns don't have the money to re-sign him. I think he's going to get money in the open market. And I think Devin Bush going to Detroit, as that run-stopping third linebacker, I like it. And speaking of linebackers, I'm going after Shaq Thompson as well. Shaq Thompson had 28 tackles, 0 sacks, 16 run stops, and 2 pressures in 4 games last year. So the last 2 seasons have been very injury-riddled for Shaq Thompson. That's why he's available and very cheap. He can come to a team as a rotation run-stopping linebacker. Alex Anzalone and Jack Campbell, as good as they are, listen, I think it's having a depth at linebacker and depth at D-line after last year is going to be priority number 1 for the Detroit Lions. So I think getting another depth linebacker in Shaq Thompson, who is good in coverage, but he's still a really good run defender at this age with all these injuries. You can ease him back in the playing form, having Devin Bush be that linebacker number 3, and Shaq Thompson that veteran linebacker number 4. Former Pro Bowler off the bench is always good to have, and for 3.5, I think that's great to have Shaq Thompson. So entering the draft, you've reinvested in your defense when it comes to depth. You get a wide receiver, you get a guard, and you can restructure, get Trey Hendrickson, you re-sign the guys that you really want. So entering the draft, you are wide open to do whatever you want. You can improve the team for right now and for the future. And that is exactly what I do. When entering the draft, the Detroit Lions, at number 28, I grabbed Trey Amos from Ole Miss. So this is my favorite part of finally doing these late round playoff teams, is I've been waiting to draft Trey Amos at the end of the first round because this dude is not touching the second round. I don't see him slipping out of the first. He's a ball-hawking corner who attacks the ball in the air and when it's in the receiver's hands. He's a really good force and completion guy. He has very long arms, very athletic. I think this could be your outside corner of the future. We can then move Carlton Davis to the inside, right? Trey Amos, Terrion Arnold, those are your cornerbacks of the future. He has a good size at 6'1", 210, I believe. And I think Trey Amos is going to be a very good corner at the NFL. Then at number 101, because you don't have a number 60 due to the Trey Hendrickson trade. At 101, I grabbed CJ West from Indiana. Finally, he is getting higher and higher on the draft boards. He has been on my gem list for a long time, as you guys know in these videos. I've always said end of the third, beginning of the fourth is my range. That's the range he's now in PFF, so it's not going to knock me for constantly taking him in the third. I see him as a run-defending, big-body D-tackle. He's always showed up big for this defense in Indiana and his time and other teams away as well. He's gotten better as a pass rusher as time went on, and he can play on either side of the center. This is a dude for the future. is going to be Javon Hargrave, right? He's going to be that third D tackle, run stopping dude, and maybe even in the future could take over for DJ Reader once his contract, is not worth his playing time. I truly think CJ West can be a good run defender in the NFL, and I'm so excited to see him play somewhere because he is one of my gems. He's going to get drafted higher than you think. I'm telling you, he's going to get drafted higher than you think. Then at number 133, as I said, I'm going to be investing at guard in Luke Kandra from Cincinnati. Luke Kandra, he's a great pass blocker with athleticism who can develop into a good run blocker. He didn't allow a sack last year after allowing a couple the year before, so he improved on his game. I do worry about the future of the interior of the offensive line, so I want to draft now and develop while they don't have to start, right? He's 6'4", 320, ideal size. I think it's exactly what the Lions could want in the 4th round in Luke Kandra. Again, a dude you can just develop over the next couple of years and don't have to worry in a few years when you have a starter. Kind of like what you're doing with Christian Mahogany. Then at number 196, grabbing Jordan James from Oregon. Jordan James, he's my David Montgomery insurance. He doesn't have the home run speed of Jahmyr Gibbs, but he takes defenders for a ride like David Montgomery, right? He's an early down back, ideal when fighting for yardage. He had 1,300 yards last year, so he can carry an offense. But for me, I want him as a role player and as the thunder to someone's lightning, right? Then at number 227, grabbing Oronde Gadsden from Syracuse. Oronde, good receiving threat, 6'5", 240. Both seasons that he was healthy, he had almost 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. You can't beat that when it comes out of the draft in the 7th round. You know what I mean? He is too slow to be a starter in my opinion. So I like him in the red zone. I like his route running on dump offs and route running in the red zone. I think it's actually really good for a 7th round pick. And Oronde Gadsden is going to get taken somewhere. He's going to get like 200 yards and 2 touchdowns his rookie year. And they're going to be like, wow, what a good 7th round pick that was. Then at number 230, grabbing a versatile safety in Craig Woodson from Cal. He's a versatile. He played all over the defense. He has significant snaps in his career at strong safety, free safety, outside corner, and slot corner. He had 70 tackles the last 3 years. 70 tackles a year the last 3 years about. He's a very dominant run defender. He also had 8 forced incompletions, which was top 10 in college football last year. He can just play ball, right? The Lions always talk about, chew the kneecap off. Craig Woodson will do whatever the team asks him to do in the defense, in the secondary, and I think that they would love a dude who can just play anywhere and will do anything to play. Then number 246, grabbing a wide receiver in Jackson Meeks out of Syracuse, another receiving threat out of Syracuse. He has a very large body. He's 6'2", and when he did play with a golf type of quarterback in Kyle McCord as a gunslinger, he thrived, right? He's a great contested guy. He moved all around the offensive line, outside wide receiver, slot wide receiver. He can run routes effectively, and as a 7th round pick, he's intriguing. I'm not gonna lie to you. He's a very intriguing 7th round pick. As an outside corner, as an outside wide receiver. But even if you move into a power slot role, I think he has the athleticism to really do well in the slots. And then obviously there's a trade for Trey Hendrickson. It gives me a C. They don't like my Trey Amos pick. They don't like my CJ West pick. That's whatever. I think those are really good spots to take them. And I think in this team specifically, they will thrive in the future. So yeah, let me know, guys. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Did I cook? Let me know. Do you agree with the draft picks I did, with the signings I did? I think I really made this team a Super Bowl contender. And they're already Super Bowl contenders. Sorry. I made this team a Super Bowl winner. So if you guys enjoy, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know down in the comments down below what you think. And I'll see you guys later. Peace and bye.